here with at CPAC Mexico with the president of Mis amigos migrantes, pues aquí estoy.
Total catastrophe, and it is a crisis.
Of a child, right there. All these NGOs, you're fake. It is this, the crisis of children.
Thank you so much for joining in. I'm Oscar Blue for Real America's Boys News. It is Wednesday, March 5th of the year 2025. The time, it is 5:15 in the evening. This is going to get interesting, and it is going to get more interesting by the moment, and it is going to get the volume of the microphone. It's just getting out there. It is going to get more interesting by the moment. More and more interesting. And it is going to have, for the Mexican president, she just came out and sent a message to the Mexican people. I believe that the war that is coming, the biggest war, it is going to be against the cartels. That is the biggest war. Us, the journalists, we're going to have a lot of work having the bravery and the courage to go and report on these issues, because right now Mexico is number 3 for assassinations towards journalists. They just assassinated a journalist in Guanajuato. Horribly. They assassinated one. So I believe strongly that this is going to be the biggest absolute war against the cartel. And for me to speak about it, it's at this length, at this juncture, it puts a lot of risk into my life. But we need to speak about it. And as a Mexican citizen living on this country, we have the right to speak about it, and to also to inform in both languages, of course, absolutely. But this is the Mexican president speaking about the implementation of the tariff. Now, everybody thought that everything was going to be handled under control. Now, I will go President of Mexico, then I will go Trudeau, then I will go the most bravest woman right now fighting the tyrannical left in Mexico, that is called Lili Telles. And then I will put which are the sectors that this 25% tariff that is going to be affected. Now, before we move on, like the video, share the video, like the video, share the video. Thank you so much for joining in. Oscar Blue for Real America's Boys News. If you guys like to contribute to my independent reporting and travel fund, we are going to be traveling soon to another country. Buy me a coffee is on top of the link. Thank you to all the American media who has been extremely supportive, sending messages of saying, you know what, how are you, Oscar? Are you sure that you want to do this? Are you sure you want to come out and expose the organized crime like this? We got your back. So I want to say thank you to all the media, American media, Hispanic media, Latino media, and the Mexican media, and people from Central America, and they have been so incredibly supportive. Thank you so much. But before we move on, so this is the speech of the Mexican president. Now, everything started with Donald Trump saying, if you guys do not slow down the pace of fentanyl into the country, I will tariff you 25%. Then it kicked up a little bit. The United States of America, designating the cartels as terrorists. Canada said, I'm going to do exactly the same because I don't want to get tariff, right? So they followed the lead, and they pressured Mexico into the Mexican president saying, I'm not going to designate them as terrorists. You're basically telling me that all of my buddies, the ones that funded the political campaigns of these dirty politicians, they're going to get exposed. So how am I going to do that, right? So she played the field to say the United States of America wants to invade Mexico, and it wants to invade the sovereign nation of Mexico. And they want to designate them as terrorists to come into Mexico and destabilize our country. as they have done in the past, and look at Afghanistan, look at all this. So they started using that, rhetorical speech to the public, and the public bought it. The leftist public, they started buying it and saying, yes, they want to invade us. They took California, they took Arizona, and now they want to take the whole country. So they started doing that rhetorical speech, right? And the public started buying it. Now the public thinks, actually, and a lot of the public, they're thinking, wow, the Mexican president does not want to call them terrorists. It's unbelievable. They do not want to call them terrorists. Why? And this is worldwide news. Why the Mexican president doesn't want to call them terrorists, and a lot of people say, like, she's in cahoots with them. Now, there's a really important guy, I have been mentioning this. It's called Enmayo Zambada, and Enmayo Zambada is detained right now in the United States of America. He's the biggest kingpin, a drug lord. And as he is the biggest kingpin and drug lord, he has been speaking about the whole situation, right? And he sent a letter outside, this drug lord, and he said, if I don't get extradited to Mexico, the international relations will collapse, and I will destabilize the relations with Mexico and the United States. Guess what is happening right now? The relations with Mexico and the United States are being destabilized right now. And I don't know. And the reason why is because the Mexican president does not want to call them terrorists, does not want to slow down the pace of fentanyl, does not want to go and combat these people and destabilize the cartel. And a lot of people in the right political party in Mexico, they're saying the real cartel is in Congress, it's in the Senate. These dirty politicians that are being put there for these people to have the audacity and the liberty to deliver the orders to the proxies that they're the cartel, for you to have the authority to move tons and tons of fentanyl, cocaine, and people. This is the Mexican president speaking after the implementation of the 25% tariff. Get to understand, I do not know why she is sitting all the way to the left. I do not know that. I really do not know, and I do not understand. But this is kind of like a progressive liberal. And then she starts the speech with a todas, buenas tardes a todas y todos. It's buenas tardes a todos. It should be todos. It's you're speaking plural, but because she's part of the progressive liberal agenda, she wants to address, good evening to all females and all males. So let me just translate a little bit about this 8-minute interview, 8-minute speech that she gave up. This is extremely important for people to understand what is going on. And she's also doing a rally on Sunday to tell the Mexican people what, we are going to fight the tyrannical government, of the United States, but also these are the measures that we're going to do. And they try to do a rhetorical tariff, which Donald Trump yesterday, in his great speech that he did yesterday, he said, if you're going to rhetorical tariff me, I will swing it back to you with more. So it's just like a trade war now. And it's an exportation and importation war now that we know that this was going to happen. Because Mexico is not listening. The Mexican government, the Mexican government is not listening. It's not listening to say, is it bad that you want to erase and eradicate the cartels? Is it bad? Why you don't want to do it? And it's like, we don't take orders from nobody. Okay, I understand that. I'm Mexican. I don't want nobody to come to sovereign nation, into my sovereign country and say, other country to tell you, this is what you're going to do. I understand that, but this is the first time, this is the first time that specifically this has happened. This is the first time that this has happened, that an American president of the United States of America is calling it like it is. And he put a statement on a piece of paper saying, the government of Mexico, it is complicit and it is in cahoots with the cartel. This is her speech, and I will try to translate the best that I can. 8 minutes. I don't want to take that long because it's going to take a whole more plus hour plus It's going to be more easier with Trudeau because he speaks English, but this is Spanish to English, right? I'm going to do my best to translate.
A todos. Como probablemente estén enterados, el día de ayer el gobierno de Estados Unidos impuso aranceles del 25% a los productos que exportamos hacia su país.
Like you all know, the United States of America put 25% tariff on all the products that we export to their country.
Fíjense, llevamos 30 años que esto no existía.
Look, it has been 30 years since this has never existed.
Porque tenemos un tratado de libre comercio.
Because we have a treaty of freedom of commerce.
El último tratado de libre comercio lo firmó el presidente López Obrador con el propio presidente Trump.
The last international treaty that it was signed, it was President Obrador with President Trump.
Esta medida del 25% de los aranceles tiene efectos para ambos países, pero tiene
This measure of the 25% tariff, it has consequences to both countries.
efectos muy graves para la economía de los Estados Unidos.
But it has more brutal effects on the economy of the United States of America.
Pues va a elevar los costos muchísimo de todos los productos que se exportan de México hacia los Estados Unidos. Va a tener un 25% más de costo.
It's going to elevate the cost of all the products that are being exported from Mexico into the United States of America. As a matter of fact, it's going to cost you 25% more.
De acuerdo con estas medidas que aprobó el gobierno de los Estados Unidos, hay documentos que lo sustentan.
According to these measures that the United States has applied these tariffs, there are documents that they basically impose or they specify them.
Y según esto, una de las razones para poner este arancel es por el fentanilo que entra de México a los Estados Unidos.
And, and one of the reasons why, apparently it is because of the fentanyl that is entering from Mexico to the United States of America.
Y que enferma y provoca muertes por sobredosis.
And that, it's a sickening drug and it causes a lot of death to overdose.
Pero aún más irresponsable.
But more irresponsible.
Terriblemente irresponsable.
Horribly irresponsible.
Es que la Casa Blanca emite un documento.
That the White House, it is also releasing a statement.
Donde dice que hay vínculos entre el gobierno de México y la delincuencia organizada.
When the White House is saying that the government of Mexico, it is in cahoots with the cartel. And I will stop that. She's saying, but the most horrible thing is that the government of the United States of America, it is specifying on a statement coming out of the White House, directly accusing the Mexican government to be in cahoots with the cartel. And she's complaining about that. This is the most unbelievable thing because there has been politicians that have been caught red-handed, being in cahoots with the cartel. Ultimately, there has been multiple evidence of the past president shaking the hands of the mother of El Chapo Guzman in a mountain, current president Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo, shaking the hands of the lawyer of El Mayo Zambada. A lot of dirty politicians, they're involved. You have to be kidding me. And I don't want to talk bad about our president, but she's denying an actual truth. This is the problem. This is the cancer. They don't want to eliminate this cancer. They don't want to fight this cancer that has contaminated our country to be a first world class country. The problem, there was a guy, that a guy taught me this saying, and and he told me this, and let me just tell you, it's exactly a copy paste to the word poverty, exactly, right? So he told me, Oscar, who is at fault, the corruption or the corruptor, the guy that makes the corruption? Who's at fault? Who makes the corruption? The guy that wants to make the corruption that is corrupt, or the corruption himself? And I said, the person that is making the corruption. And he said, no, you're wrong. So it is the corruption. And he said, no. The problem is that the word corruption, it is being used on both sides. It shouldn't be existing. And I said, oh, okay. So this president right here in Mexico, from the past administration, they're using the word primero los pobres, first the poor, primero el pueblo, first the people, right? So it's been 6 years. You cannot fix a country in 6 years, but they have been pandering and saying primero los pobres, first the poor. And exactly on this next administration, they're also pandering and saying primero los pobres, first the poor. The problem is not that there's poverty. The problem it is that they're actually using the word poverty, continuously using the word poverty. And this is the actual problem now. With actually now, let's bring it to the cartel and the fentanyl. The problem is it the cartel? Is it the fentanyl? Is it the buyer? Is it the consumer? The problem is the word, is that the product is still coexisting. The product is still being made. Why the product cannot be eradicated and eliminated? Because it's an international business. It's a multi-billion business that goes not only to the number one buyer, that is the United States, but also goes to South America, also goes to Europe, also goes to Asia. And this is the actual problem. It is the word. It is not the understanding that they want to eliminate the supply and the demand. So this is the actual problem. This is the big problem. Let me hold on a minute right here. So let me go back to the video.
Quiero platicarles el comunicado que publiqué a través de mis redes sociales el día de ayer.
I want to share the statement that I shared through my social media the other day.
Allí explico quiénes son los que verdaderamente tienen vínculos con estos grupos delictivos.
Through that statement, I explain clearly who is vinculated with these organized crime groups.
La razón de las muertes por sobredosis de los estadounidenses.
The reason for the American people that they're dying of overdose of fentanyl.
Y también digo que si ellos quieren actuar,
and also I say, if they want to act,
no deberían fijar su mira en México,
they shouldn't be looking at Mexico,
sino en su propio país,
though in their own country they should be looking at.
donde no han hecho nada para parar la venta ilegal.
They haven't done anything to stop the illegal distribution of fentanyl in their country. I will give you one thing. She's actually being right in this statement, and I don't want to get people upset, but the supply and the demand, the cartel wouldn't have a lot of that power if the demand was not that much. And we need to be honest with each other. The number one buyer is the United States. The number one with addiction is the United States. And the number one with distribution is the United States. I'm not saying she's right, but I'm saying on this particular statement, yes. Why? Because the United States has a huge addiction problem. And something needs to be done to stop this enormous distribution with the interior cartels, that they're working interior. On that, she is correct. We cannot deny that. But on the other stuff, denying the problem and basically defending the cartels, you got to be kidding me.
De esta y de otras drogas. Primero que nada, como ayer lo dije, rechazamos categóricamente la calumnia que hace la Casa Blanca al gobierno de México de tener alianzas con organizaciones criminales.
First and foremost, we completely neglect the horrific statement of the White House saying that the government of Mexico, it is in cahoot with the organized crime or the cartel. We categorically denied these statements.
Así como cualquier intención injerencista en nuestro territorio.
As also whatever statement of intervention into our territory.
La soberanía no se negocia.
The sovereignty, you don't negotiate with our sovereign nation.
Si en algún lugar existe tal alianza,
If there is existence of an allegiance between the corrupt government of Mexico or these organized groups,
es en las armerías de Estados Unidos.
it will be in the gun manufacturers in the United States of America
que venden armas de alto poder, sí, y de alto poder, que son de uso exclusivo del ejército,
that they're selling high caliber weapons, that they're exclusive high caliber weapons that they are for exclusive use of the military,
de ellos a estos grupos criminales.
that they're selling that high caliber weaponry to these organized groups. Wow. She said it. Wow. I never thought that she was going to have the gall to say it. She said it.
Esto lo demostró, fíjense bien, lo demostró el propio Departamento de Justicia de Estados Unidos.
This, just to put attention, the own Department of Justice showed it that it's a fact.
El 8 de enero de este año.
The 8th of January of this year.
Aquí tengo el documento que fue publicado en esa fecha.
I have the document right here that it was publicated on that date.
Donde la Oficina de Alcohol, Tabaco, Armas de Fuego y Explosivos,
where the ITF,
que depende del Departamento de Justicia,
that is an agency that depends on the Department of Justice,
fíjense bien, reconoció que el 74%
it is recognizing that up to 75%,
de las armas
up to 75% of weapons,
que usa la delincuencia organizada en México,
that the weapons, 75% 75% of the weapons that they are being trafficked and used by the organized crime in Mexico. Let me go back to the video. I apologize for this.
proviene de forma ilegal de la industria militar de su país.
Wow. They're saying that the 75% of illicit artillery or illicit weaponry that is coming to Mexico, that is being made in the United States, it comes specifically from the manufacturers that they make these weapons for the military in the United States of America.
Nuestro gobierno ha asegurado en 4 meses
Our government has assured in 4 months
más de 40 toneladas de droga,
more than 40 tons of drugs,
incluyendo 20 millones de dosis de fentanil.
also adding 20 million doses of fentanyl.
También ha detenido a más de 10,000 personas vinculadas con estos grupos.
Also, we have detained more than 10,000 people that they're vinculated to these groups.
Tenemos estrategia.
We have a strategy.
Atendemos las causas
We have the causes.
combatimos la impunidad.
We are combating the impunity.
Todos los días trabajamos por la seguridad del país.
Every day we're working for the security of the country, which I don't agree with that, but okay.
Ahora, si el gobierno de Estados Unidos y sus agencias quisieran atender el grave consumo de fentanilo en su
Now, if the government of the United States and their agencies wanted really to address the problem of fentanyl,
país, ¿por qué no empiezan combatiendo la venta de estupefacientes
why don't start combating the obvious distribution of these narcotics
en las calles de sus principales ciudades?
in the streets and the neighborhoods of their principal neighborhoods, in their streets and their own communities?
¿O cómo es que las personas con adicciones compran esa droga?
Of how it is possible with the people that have addiction, they buy their own product. I have to agree on something that she's saying. I have to agree with something. I don't agree completely with everything that she's saying. I have to be honest, but I have to agree that if you're the number one buyer and distributor, why it is not being actually combated inside of the United States of America to stop the distribution of fentanyl inside of the United States of America. The distribution between the gangs and the mafias that they are inside of the United States of America. Now, there's a comment right here. Does she have proof? Because gun manufacturers are not selling weapons to the cartel. They are transported from cartel members to the United States of Mexico. That's not the issue. The issue it is that it's being manufactured and is being built in the United States of America, and it is being trafficked to Mexico. I don't care if it is the cartel, and recently, let me just put this on for you, my brother. Let me just put this on screen, and I will pause this because I want to put this on screen. Hold on. Let me just. Okay, here we go. Just for you to understand that this is a reality, my brother. Okay? It's good to have the evidence and it's good to place the evidence when it is a reality problem. It is people to understand that this is a bilateral problem. And we need to understand that. There we go, right here. Where is it? Right here. There you go. This is just an example. This was a U.S. citizen that got recently stopped. I believe that it was last week, trafficking guns into Mexico. The article says that he was detained in the international bridge called El Chaparral, which is in my city in Tijuana, Baja California. He was intending to cross heavy gunfire weapons and high caliber weapons into the United States, into Mexico from the United States of America. He is linked to a group that is called the Russians. That this group works as an operative group for the Cartel de Sinaloa. His name is Scott Harvey Daniel Lee Thompson, of 41 years of age, which they call this an arsenal. This is the way that they're describing it, including 3 long artillery, 3 long high caliber guns, 2 small ones, 19 chargers, and 2,000 cartridges used for different calibers. This is a reality. So let's go back to the speech so we can continue. There's some stuff that she's saying, which I have said this before. I don't know why people get upset. It is a reality. I have said this before. The United States of America, sadly, it is the #1 buyer for fentanyl, is the #1 buyer for cocaine, is the #1 distributor of fentanyl, is the #1 distributor of cocaine, #1 with addiction and debts of fentanyl. He does not work for Russia. My God. The group, Nicholas Barchak, the group, it is called the Russians. That is a nickname. It is not specifically that they work for Russia. The nickname of this cartel operandi Sicario group, it is called the Russians. Lord, have mercy. Let's go back to the video.
¿Por qué nunca hemos oído de detenciones en Estados Unidos de los grupos delictivos estadounidenses?
Why we have never heard of detentions in the United States of America of the delinquent groups that they are distributing fentanyl and drugs into their streets. Where is it? Right here.
¿Cómo es que no se investiga el lavado de dinero
Why they're not investigating on money laundering
de los grupos delictivos de allá?
of the delinquent groups of the other side of the United States?
¿Por qué no ponen toda su inteligencia a trabajar
Why don't they put all their intelligence to work
para detectar a los grupos delictivos que venden fentanilo en su territorio?
to stop the delinquent groups that they're operating in their territory? Now, I have to say something to the president of Mexico. She's not informed, possibly, of the department that it was recently made by the current administration that is called DOGE, right? Department of Government Efficiency. And this Department of Government Efficiency, it is basically disclosing all the reality of the money laundering and the disaster of distribution of money into NGOs and also to stupidity. Now, this is the reality. Somebody saying, why get irritated with Nicholas? Your audience is here to learn. I'm not getting irritated. It's just a question. It is out of, my God. I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings. This is not a time for feelings. It is a time to just put attention. And, for you, taking the time to read your comment. a lot of live streamers or journalists, bloggers, reporters, broadcasters do not even put attention to the comment section. I do. I'm putting attention to the comment section. So God bless you. So this is a reality. Now, it has been, I said this before. I have saying this, in the two states where more trafficking of guns from the United States to Mexico, it happens is from Arizona and Texas. Those are the two states that they're having a huge problem. Now, the only thing that I have to say, and I'll be honest with you guys, it is a clear reality that the current administration in Mexico, it is protecting the cartel. It is clear. It is obvious and it is clear. Why? Because she doesn't want to name them terrorists, number one. Number two, if she doesn't want to name them terrorists, is because she's using the justification that she doesn't want to get her country being invaded by the American government, that is a complete stupidity. They're not going to invade our country or destabilize our country. They're trying to eradicate a problem, and they try to push you to tell you, you have a big problem. Let's eradicate it together. You need help? I'm here to help. But the Mexican government knows the enormous corruption that is happening inside of their country. They know who has been basically funding their political campaigns. And the number one thing is that they have the number one kingpin in the United States of America detained. So that guy, you don't want that guy to speak. You don't want that guy, El Mayo Zambada, to speak. And if that guy starts speaking, you will have this problem. All types of justifications to not fix a problem. Of course, we all know that the United States of America is the number one buyer of fentanyl. We all know that he's the number one buyer of cocaine. We all know that he's the number one with addiction and debts to fentanyl. President Trump already said it in his speech last night. We're trying to eradicate this problem. We all know that there's enormous money laundering problem in the United States. Look what they did with Ukraine, $300 and some billion, and they don't even know where this money went. Everybody knows that. And the majority are Democrats and rhinos. A lot of people in Mexico do not know that. They generally, touch the topic of everybody is the same. They don't know the divisions in the certain sections, right? They all know that. We all know that the distributor of guns to come to Mexico, it is coming and smuggled from the United States of Mexico to feed the cartels. We know that. And that disaster happened, and she doesn't want to speak about it, with Obama, that he created the Fast and the Furious strategy, which has completely devastated our country with an enormous violence, feeding the cartels high artillery, high caliber weapons into the cartel. And those weapons, until now, they have found weapons until now in the cartel that they're still operating, assassinating between themselves. This problem has been for years. We know that. Okay, now that you have pointed the finger over there and you're dedicating your speech to point the finger, now point the finger, point the finger, point the finger. Okay, let's stop pointing the fingers and let's just, how about fixing the problem? How about that? How about you show the United States of America what you're made of? How about you shut the mouth of the administration of the United States of America and you say, all right, you're pointing the finger over here and you're telling me that I can't do it? And you're telling me that I'm not brave enough to do it? And you're telling me that I cannot handle this problem? And on top of that, you want to basically tariff me? On top of that, you want to do that? Okay, let me start fixing the problem. I will fix the problem. First and foremost, you're not coming into my country to eliminate this problem. I will eliminate it. I will call them terrorists, but on my constitution, I will make a reform for you to not enter. We will receive support of intelligence from you, but the one that is going to combat this problem, it is us, because it's a problem. But if we start fixing this problem, I suppose that your demand is going to slow down. I am imagining that your demand, and you're going to combat the demand in your own country, end the massive trafficking of guns to our country, right? Hell yeah. America's going to say, hell yeah, we're going to fix this problem. Send the National Guard, more meticulous inspections in the U.S. Customs, more Border Patrol deployed to the borders, secure the border and seal the border. I'll help you, you help me. All right, let's do this. Instead of doing that and creating a bilateral relationship, fixing the problem not on this, you're kneeling down to the white man, you're kneeling down to the imperialists, to the white supremacy, to all this stupidity language of all these progressive liberals. Instead of going with that, you guys saw, and I'm just gonna make a pause, quote unquote, right here. Did you guys saw yesterday Donald Trump's speech? I think that is put the seal on the coffin on the Democratic Party. Complete disaster. The leftist progressive political party around the globe, it is dying. Yesterday was proof of it. They did not even get up to show respect to Lakin's Riley mother. They did not even get up to show respect to the other young girl that it was assassinated by 2 illegal aliens. They did not even get up with the little young kid that suffered cancer and they wanted to be an agent. What makes you think that they have integrity in the past administration of Biden, where with these open border policies, the market of trafficking of drugs and the market of everything grew 2 times bigger? The cartel grew 2 times. Trafficking aliens in through non-ports of entry. Trafficking drugs into non-ports of entry. Biden made this bigger. Now, somebody's getting mad because they're putting them to work. I said this before and I will say it again. And I have said this multiple times when I have been in the war room with multiple networks. The threat of a tariff needed to happen whether they liked it or not. Why? Look what is happening. They're putting these people to work. And they're actually, now we're going to feel the consequence. I don't like my country to be hurt economically and financially. We already hurt. In Mexico, we are already hurt. But there's no other way to make these people understand that there's a problem. Of course, President of Mexico, Mrs. President, push the buttons. Tell them you have a distribution problem, United States. Tell them. You have an addiction problem. Of course, tell them. You have a distribution of artillery from your country to our country of Mexico. Tell them. Of course, tell them. But now that you finish telling them, when are you going to fix your backyard? So until you point the finger and you get tired of pointing the finger, now you're going to fix your backyard? My God. Is that the way it works? So I point the finger, they're the problem, they're the distributor, they're the buyer, they're this, they're that. Why me? Why me? Why me? Why you? More than 200,000 deaths happened under the AMLO administration, making him the most insecure president in history. And I was there in your closing of the campaign one day before you became president. And you said to thousands of people on the governmental plaza, you said, I'm going to use the same strategy of security that President AMLO used. When you said that, and I was there broadcasting for the network, I was like, holy cow, we are in deep trouble. It's another 6 years of this. Another 6 years of this political torture. Another 6 years of this insecurity. And now you have a threat of a tariff. You have 25% tariff. Now, there's a comment right here. Oscar, can you answer this? Is a lot of money going to the cartel in Mexico? Could some of that money be going to some of Mexico's government? I already said it. Yes, this is the number one reason why She's being upset and saying that it's an atrocity for the White House to release a statement to say that the government of Mexico is in cahoots with the cartel. Everybody knows in Mexico that they are. Everybody knows. That's not a lie. But let's not pull away a little bit from here. And I will be honest with you guys. Jack Posobiec, as I was with Steve Bannon, and we were doing an interview about this, and they were telling me, Oscar, how do you see it? Is this a low blow to the cartels? I said to Steve, this is not a low blow to the cartels. It's a low blow to the dirty politicians, the ones that they control the spider web. And that is such a low blow that the Mexican president, is being hurt so much that she's willing to reform the Constitution to not name them terrorists and to buy some time. Then Jack Posobiec asked me, Oscar, do you believe also that this is kind of like a trickle effect that some of these politicians possibly are inside of the United States of America? I said, absolutely. What makes you think that nobody in California knew about the massive trafficking of illegal aliens in Jacumba? Chinese people paying $30,000 to $35,000 to the cartel being trafficked to an open border gap. Nobody knew in California that was happening. Veronica Escobar having the gall and the audacity yesterday to step out of the speech of Donald Trump and being like, it was all lies. Shut the hell up. You know what is going on in El Paso with Juarez and the cartel, how it's massively operating, massively trafficking through Anapra, through all these, the mountain where they have the Christ, all that stuff. Man, you know what is going on. What makes you think that a lot of these politicians in the United States of America are not dirty also? How far of difference are some of these progressive liberal politicians in the United States as different as the corrupt politicians in Mexico? Somebody's being paid off. I have said this so many times. I said it bluntly. Somebody's being paid off. Somebody's being bought off. And it starts with your NGOs. Your NGOs, they were massively operating at the borders. Look at all the federal grant money that was found. They were all operating on open border gaps where everybody was coming in. Why? Because they knew. They knew where the cartel was going to exploit the people, is going to charge the people massive amounts of money, and they were going to receive them to pander with the Pampers and the baby wipes and all this stuff. And oh my God, President Biden, we need more billions of dollars because we have a crisis at the border. We have an enormous challenge. First, it was a challenge, right? We have an enormous challenge at the border, President Biden, President Kamala. We have an enormous challenge. We need more billions. Send more billions. Then when it got horribly in the last 2 years of the Biden administration, it's not a challenge anymore. This has been a crisis. And it's all a consequence of the Trump administration that he put Title 42. And then Biden used Title 42. Oh my God, what are we going to do now? So they asked me this question the other day. Why is there a possibility that dirty politicians in the United States are in cahoots with the cartel? Ay, ma papa, ¿cómo no? Of course. Somebody's being bought off. Did not the United States of America just recently found a border patrol that created treason to the country of the United States of America in El Paso, that he was in cahoots and involved with the cartel, letting and trafficking migrants into the parts of El Paso? It has been known for years that this is happening. This is now the tariff. It is going to be applicable on Sunday. Mexican president is going to go to the governmental plaza to basically speak and say what she's going to say about the consequences of the tariff and how they're going to handle them. I remember back in the first term of President Trump, he put a 5% tariff, a threat of a tariff, 5%. And immediately the international relations guy, Marcelo Ebrard, that is the same guy again, he flew to the White House, sit down with Mike Pompeo and William Barr, and they call it truce. And they immediately slow down the pace of illegal aliens. And they slow down a little bit the pace of drugs. It's not complete. Then COVID happened and all this stuff happened. And it was a complete downfall because from there, it was the Russian collusion, the riots, and the BLMs and all this kind of stuff. It was a whole, man, my God. It's just a complete disaster. Give it a like to the video, share the video, like the video, share the video. If you guys like to contribute to my independent reporting and travel fund, it's on top. It's an app that is called Buy Me a Coffee. You can contribute right there. Thank you so much. Let's go to this. Now, I want you to listen to this. That was the Mexican president speaking of, where is it? Okay, right here. Yeah, it's this one. That was the Mexican president speaking about the tariff. Now let's go to this pansy. This is the pansy that is next to talk about. And everybody knows who I'm talking about. Let's go hear him out.
The U.S. slapped Canada with 25% tariffs. Let's listen.
So today, the United States launched a trade war against Canada, their closest partner and ally, their closest friend.
No, you're wrong. First and foremost, you progressive liberal retard. They did not launch a war of a threat of a tariff or a war of international commerce to you. And you're not their closest ally. Just because you live on top, it doesn't mean you're your closest ally. You can live all the way to the other side of the world and be the closest ally. Just because you live on top of the continent and you're geographically on top of the United States of America, it is not because you're the closest ally. Just, by the way, let me just tell you, son of Castro, and it is not a trade war. They have told you before. Also, you have a problem with fentanyl. You have an enormous problem with fentanyl, Governor Trudeau. And you do not want to address it. Again, I will say, somebody's being paid off. Somebody's being bought off. It is not a lie. It is a reality.
At the same time, they're talking about working positively with Russia, appeasing Vladimir Putin, a lying, murderous dictator. Make that make sense.
Nobody's appeasing Vladimir Putin just because President Zelensky, they put a stop to it of sending billions of dollars into a war where hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians have died. Hundreds of thousands of Russians have died. And guess who? It is the only one to say, I want people to stop dying. I will tell you, if Donald Trump was brown and he was Latino, and he went into that CNN studio and they asked him the same question, Mr. President, who do you want to win? Russia or Ukraine? And if Donald Trump would have been brown and Mexican or brown Latino, and if he would have responded, I don't want nobody, it's not about who's going to win. I want people to stop dying. I want peace. He would have won the World Peace Award. He would have won the biggest award in the whole planet in history. I'm just making it about color right now because that's simply how it was categorized as. But because he was President Trump, and because Orange Man bad, they flipped all the script to just blame him with all the Russian stuff. And by the way, somebody got their butt handled in the White House.
Canadians are reasonable and we are polite, but we will not back down from a fight. Not when our country and the well-being of everyone in it is at stake. At the moment, the U.S. tariffs came into effect in the early hours of this morning. and so did the Canadian response. Canada will be implementing.
Are you looking to sell your house as is without the hassle of
I'm not
costs,
looking
the
for that. I'm
repairs,
sorry
or
about that. commercial.
25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods. Starting with tariffs.
That is the most stupidest strategy. They already said about a rhetorical tariff. And they said it yesterday. They already told you what it was going to happen. They already said that if you try to retaliate with another tariff on top of another tariff, they will retaliate with 50% or 75% and even 100%. What are you playing, man? Why can you just not fix the problem that they're asking you? Exactly like the Mexican president. We know, as I have said, we know, I'm not defending 100% the United States of America, because a lot of people, they believe, oh my God, he's defending the United States of America instead of Mexico. No, what I'm saying is that in our country of Mexico, we have a big problem. This problem, we cannot fix it by pointing the finger. We need to fix it by fixing our disaster. And meanwhile, we are fixing our disaster. We can actually have the justification and the goal to say, hey, you have a demand problem, man. Look, I'm over here combating these people. I'm over here fighting these people off. I'm over here trying to stop the cartel, but your buyers are still like asking for it. Can you please, come on, man, do something about it. Bilateral relation. The most important countries possibly in the whole continent of trade. It is Canada, United States, and Mexico. Geographically going from the top to the bottom, right? And possibly the three most important ones in the world. Why we cannot fix a problem that is so easy to fix? Why we are fighting this trade war? Why are we just getting tariff? If we know that there's a problem, if the Mexican president, let me just talk and go back a little bit to the Mexican president. If the Mexican president knows that they're telling you they are terrorists, and immediately you say, I'm going to really reform the Constitution for nobody to call them terrorists, just me, then you're like, hold on a minute. And you're on the other side. You're like, is she trying to reform the Constitution just to not name them terrorists? Like, yeah, they were saying that you're the problem and you're the one and you're Lala and you're like, oh, is that right? Well, didn't they have two heads that they were cut off the other day and they were like this and they were like, yeah, but they say, okay, well, reciprocal tariff. Bah, there you go.
Tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods immediately, and tariffs on the remaining $125 billion of American products in 21 days' time. Should these tariffs not cease, we are in active and ongoing discussions with provinces and territories to pursue several non-tariff measures which will demonstrate that there are no winners in a trade war. Now, just like I did a month ago, I want to speak first directly to the American people. We don't want this. We want to work with you as a friend and ally. And we don't want to see you hurt either. But your government has chosen to do this to you. As of this morning, markets are down, and inflation is set to rise dramatically all across your country. Your government has chosen to put American jobs at risk, at the thousands of workplaces that succeed because of materials from Canada or because of consumers in Canada, or both. They've chosen to raise costs for American consumers on everyday essential items like groceries and gas, on major purchases like cars and homes, and everything in between. They've chosen to harm American national security, impeding access to the abundant critical minerals, energy, building materials, and fertilizers that we have and that the United States needs to grow and prosper. They've chosen to launch a trade war that will, first and foremost, harm American families. They've chosen to sabotage their own agenda that was supposed to usher in a new golden age for the United States. And they've chosen to undermine the incredible work we've done together to tackle the scourge that is fentanyl, a drug that must be wiped from the face of the earth. So on that point, let me be crystal clear. There is absolutely no justification or need whatsoever for these tariffs today. Now, the legal pretext your government is using to bring in these tariffs is that Canada is apparently unwilling to help in the fight against illegal fentanyl. Well, that is totally false. Let's look at the facts. Our border is already safe and secure. Far less than 1% of fentanyl flows and less than 1% of illegal crossings into the United States comes from Canada. But we acted because we know we can always do better. We responded to concerns, including from the president, by implementing an ambitious $1.3 billion border plan. A border plan that includes generational investments in new AI and imaging tools to stop the flow of fentanyl in its tracks, stronger coordination and information sharing with American agencies, along with the deployment of drones, helicopters, and additional personnel to keep our border secure. Now, a month ago, as part of an agreement with the United States that paused the tariffs, we made further commitments. We appointed Kevin Brasseau as our fentanyl czar, a man who dedicated his multi-decade career in law enforcement to combating organized crime networks and drug trafficking. We designated 7 drug cartels, sick, evil groups who cynically profit off the pain and suffering of people on both sides of the border, as the terrorist organizations that they are. And just yesterday, we launched a new joint operations partnership supported by a $200 million investment between Canada's security and law enforcement agencies, a partnership that will enhance the coordination of information and intelligence in order to thwart criminal gangs involved in the illegal fentanyl trade. And critically, our actions are working. As the U.S. Customs and Border Protection just acknowledged, there was a 97% drop in fentanyl seizures from January compared to December, to a near zero low of less than half an ounce seized in January, even with all the further enforcements and actions we've taken at the borders. In sum, we stepped up. We engaged closely and constructively with the president and his administration. We did everything we promised. We stuck to our word. And we did it because we believe in working together to protect our citizens. Now I want to speak directly to one specific American, Donald. In the over 8 years, you and I
Ay, cabrón. La inmadurez en las personas cuando estás tratando de negociar se demuestra el liderazgo en la humildad y en el respeto. The leadership and humbleness in a country that you want to lead the opinion and to show that not that you're right, but you're trying and you're doing things right, is to show respect. I will put this into perspective and change a little bit the topic. I don't know, and I'm going to compare this to what Trudeau just said and what this did. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie The Chosen, story of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. And there's a story which is in the Bible, which is extremely, now that I'm consistently a little bit, reading the Bible every once in a while, day yes, day no, day yes. There's a story there that I saw on this series. Before the Romans, they used to have the authority, if they saw a group of Jews, to tell them, you need to carry our equipment for a mile, right? Jesus being who he was and the power that he had, he encountered some Romans, and the Romans told him, carry our equipment, you Jews. And they carried their equipment and everything that it was heavy. And right ahead, there was the pillar where it was the description of the mile. I will go back to the topic for people to not get desperate. I'm trying to make an example. There was a pillar. And Jesus kept on walking, but that was the pillar of the division to say, until here. That's enough that we can carry. And all his disciples said, until here. But Jesus kept walking. And one of the Romans said, hey, I told you to stop. And the other one said, I told you to stop. And the other one said, hey, I'm telling you to stop. And he said, hey, you're like half a mile from the location. Might as well, we'll help you. You need help, right? You're tired. That Roman felt less of a man. And in his heart, it just got the message to say, what am I doing? The example of humbleness, it goes with leadership and respect. This right here, it is an example of prepotence, arrogance, and trying to set the pace to see, I'm going to put my foot down and address the president of the United States of America by saying to him, Donald. If he's calling you Governor Trudeau, if he's mocking you, he's bullying you, the way that you win the respect is that you earn the respect. And it doesn't matter if it is the United States of America or in another empire. For you to win the respect, you got to earn it. So if you're a man that has also backed down and has kneeled down to your country, because that is what you have done, Trudeau, you just quit from representing your country. At least that you can say is show the respect and the class as a leader that you are for your country, to represent the Canadian people that want to represent still who you are. And show that you're humble. And show that you're willing to negotiate. And show that you're willing to go the other mile. That you just closed that other mile. Because guess what? You're the Roman. You're the guy that is yelling. You're the guy that is pointing the finger. You're the guy that is ha, ha, ha. Now you're trying to act like that. You're not the humble guy. You're not the one that is saying, you know what? All right, you're calling me all these names. You're telling me all of this. I'm getting punked. I'm getting bullied. I'm being this. I'm being that. All right, I'm still going to keep quiet, and I'm still going to call you like it is. I'm going to still respect you. I'm going to still call you Mr. President, the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump. Sir, we need to negotiate. We need to work together. This is what we need to do. Instead, you grab the phone, you grab the microphone, and you say, I'm going to talk to one American, Donald. And I'm like, my God, man. That's an enormous disrespect. You just, if you wanted to get tariff 25%, now you're going to get tariff 50, possibly, on the reciprocal tariff. Let me put the video again.
I have worked together. We've done big things. We signed a historic deal that has created record jobs and growth in both of our countries. We've done big things together on the world stage, as Canada and the US have done together for decades, for generations. And now we should be working together to ensure even greater prosperity for North Americans in a very uncertain and challenging world. Now, it's not in my habit to agree with the Wall Street Journal, but Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do. We two friends fighting is exactly what our opponents around the world want to see. And now to my fellow Canadians. I won't sugarcoat it. This is going to be tough, even though we're all going to pull together, because that's what we do. We will use every tool at our disposal so Canadian workers and businesses can weather this storm, from expanding EI benefits and making them more flexible.
I think that's enough. So the one thing that I got to say, he has great hair. That's the only thing I got to say. I don't know what kind of product he uses. It must be a good product. It must be Canadian made, or it must be American made. It must be American made. And that's possibly why you got the gray hair. And, you got to have the ventilator for your hair to be blowing. Like, you're the flock of seagulls got high. But, so that was the speech of this man. Trade a tariff war. Let's see what happens on Sunday. On Sunday, the Mexican president, she is going to speak. Let's see what she says, regarding the tariffs, how we are going to handle it. Whew. And both of them, they're using the same speech, that the United States of America is the one that is going to suffer the most, and that inflation is going to enormously grow. I don't know what strategy Donald Trump is using, and I don't know where he's going. He's a businessman. He knows what he's doing. It's undoubtable that he doesn't know what he's doing. Look how successful he is. And he has the most richest man on his right hand. That is Elon Musk. You have to be kidding me. They know what they're doing. Both of them, they know. You don't grow from millions to billions just by your looks. Elon is an extremely intelligent individual who knows how to make money and be powerful. Donald Trump has been an incredible businessman. That he grew his economy and he grew his name into a powerhouse in the whole world. If they're doing this, and yes, somebody saying, just FYI, and yes, I agree with that. Elon working for free, by the way. Yeah, he doesn't need the money, man. And I think that, he's doing it other than the automobile industry. There's other things that I think that why Elon is doing it. There was BYD, that is a company of a Chinese electrical cars that it was coming into Mexico. And that is the company that Donald Trump was saying, you're going to get tariff 100% and 100 more percent if you try to, put biggest manufacturing company of manufacturing cars that we're going to put in Mexico. And all of a sudden it got stopped because they were going to get tariff. And it was going to be the competition of Elon. So they were trying to basically deplatform Tesla with these BYD company that is from China. They're less cheaper, apparently more efficient, more fancy, more elegant, and all this kind of stuff. This BYD company, electrical company. So Elon, apparently hit them in the pockets right here. Bam, completely. BYD is off the border. They're not even close to the border. As a matter of fact, their manufacturing plant moved to San Luis Potosí. I believe that it's almost to the south of the country of Mexico. I believe so, San Luis Potosí. I'm not sure. But other than that, other than, lithium and all this, the extraction of lithium and all that is going to be the new market. Other than thinking of that, these are incredible, talented businessmen people that they lead the world. And you have to understand that if they are making a decision to tariff or to put a threat of a tariff and then implement the tariff, it is because they know what is coming and they know what they're doing. It's not because they're just significantly just saying, let's just tariff them. And if we're going to suffer some inflation, let's just bring some company and he can elevate the cost of, of jobs and we can bring another company, bring Honda and bring Apple. And that is going to just, balance, the tariff. It's not, they know what they're doing. It is planned for this. They're not stupidly doing this. And ultimately, the Mexican president knows that the United States of America has the enormous support of Elon Musk. This is why you will see Eduardo Verástegui, that he is now potentially going to, and he already put his, Eduardo Verástegui was a former Mexican actor who converted into Catholicism strongly. And now you see him around President Trump a lot, and you see him around Elon. And he just registered his political party, that is Movimiento Viva México. This is his political party. I met the guy. As a matter of fact, here is a picture. Let me just put the picture. I met the guy in CPAC, Mexico. Me and Ben, we met him. There you go. That's the guy. I know that you've seen this guy right here in the middle. Now, right here on this side, you will see the handsomest Mexican right here, 5'8" on a good day with boots, 5'9", and then you will see the white giant over here. That's Ben. Right here in the middle, that's Eduardo Verástegui. So he just registered his political party, Movimiento Viva México, to run for president in the next years, and he's really close. He's really close now with Elon. And Elon is listening to him. So all of this, it is the pieces of the puzzle are pointing together. That the agenda of Elon doesn't go with the left. And let me just tell you, you just pissed off the multi-billionaire that is Elon Musk, man. That's the left. That's the Democratic Party. That's what they did. And let me just write his name right here on the comments, so you can Google him. There you go. There you go. Eduardo Verástegui. That's his name. It's the guy right here in the middle. He was participating with Tim Ballard in the movie Sound of Freedom. And also, I met him and I asked him a bunch of questions about the trafficking of children. He's really informed on the trafficking of children and all this kind of stuff. Another woman that you should, and before I end this live feed, is an hour and 13. I already extended a lot. But I wanted to put another woman. She's on fire, and she's an incredible, talented woman. I've been watching her work I've been a follower of hers for more than 25 years almost, when she was a journalist. She was incredible. And now she's a senator in our country. And I have put a couple of speeches of her in my X account, and also a couple of speeches of her in my Instagram account. This is her speaking in the Senate. Her name is Lili Tellez. And this is what she says in reference to why Donald Trump wants to implement the 25% tariff. Listen to what she says, and I will translate to what she's saying.
¿Qué es lo que pide el presidente Trump a México? ¿Es algo irracional?
What is the United States President Donald Trump asking to Mexico? Is it something irrational? No.
No. Lo que pide a México es que se combata el trasiego de droga.
What is asking President Trump, what is asking to Mexico is to combat the trafficking of drugs.
Y que los migrantes estén llegando a su país en esa forma.
And that the migrants that they are arriving to his country, they arrive correctly.
Evidentemente, el presidente Trump sabe. Y si no lo sabe, desde aquí le digo al presidente Trump.
Evidently, President Trump knows, and if he doesn't know from here, I tell him, and also to the Secretary of State, I tell him.
A su secretario de Estado, que los cárteles que cosechan droga y que llevan la droga a su país.
That the cartels that they built the drugs and that they take the drugs to his country.
Son los socios de Morena, el partido.
They are the associates of the political party of Morena. Who she's talking about? The dirty politicians. She has the boldness, man, to say this. So she's basically screaming to Trump saying, it's not, you want to combat the cartels. But the most important thing, it's somebody's commentating right here, lying lady. No. ¿Cuál lying lady? ¿Cuál lying lady? Don't even start. She's not even saying the cartels. She's saying the corrupt politicians. The corrupt politicians of the political party of Morena. The political party of Morena, it is the one that AMLO constructed and made, and it is the one that is governing right now with President Sheinbaum. The political party of Morena has had the most highest debts in a 6 years government of more than 217,000 to 219,000 people that they were killed and assassinated due to cartel activity in México.
De Claudia Sheinbaum. También le digo al presidente Trump que
also, I tell to President Trump that the cartels who are trafficking,
los cárteles que trafican con personas, con migrantes hacia los Estados Unidos, son socios y financiaron la
Senadora, le vuelvo a solicitar que se apegue.
And also, I'm telling President Trump, and now you see somebody in the Senate telling her, hey, stick to your topic, but she's not. She's bold and she's courageous. I love this woman, man. She's saying, also, I tell to President Trump that the migrants that they are arriving to his and they're being trafficked and they're being transported into the country of Mexico are not because only the cartels, they are the associates of the political party of Morena. She's talking about who? The dirty politicians, which I have said boldly also, and so many broadcasts I have said this. It is not a low blow to the cartels. It has to be a low blow to the dirty politicians. Those are the ones that they hold the spider with. Listen to her again.
Al tema, por favor.
Son socios de Morena. Entonces, hago un llamado, en primer lugar, a Claudia la autoritaria, que se deje de cartas cursis y de diplomacia epistolar.
First and foremost, I make a statement, and I'm calling it out to the Mexican president, Claudia. She's calling her Claudia, not Mrs. President. You know, stop with the fake diplomacy.
Que tenga la fortaleza de defender a México.
Please stop with the pandering and stop with the lies and have the courage to defend our country of Mexico.
Está viendo que por culpa del crimen organizado.
And you're actually looking that because of the organized crime and the cartel.
Ya está corriendo riesgo el comercio internacional de México
And it's because of the organized crime and the cartel, we are at risk of a 25% tariff of the international commerce in Mexico.
y no actúa.
And she's not acting.
Ahora,
She's not acting now.
entendemos,
We understand.
y le aviso al presidente Trump y a
And
su
I
secretario
tell to President Trump and his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio,
Marco Rubio, que nosotros los mexicanos, no el gobierno,
that us, the Mexicans, not the government,
nosotros los mexicanos no estamos de acuerdo con los cárteles.
you know, us, the Mexican people, not the government, we are not in favor of the cartels. We are not for the cartels.
No queremos la violencia.
We don't want no violence.
Queremos que se vayan más personas
We don't want more people to migrate and leave our country.
de sus países. Pero el gobierno de Claudia la autoritaria ha
But the government of the current president, Claudia, the authoritarian,
decidido ser socio, ser amigo, financiar a las dictaduras.
she has decided, the current president of Mexico, to be associated, to be financing also dictators. She's saying financing, you know, the organized crime.
A Venezuela y
She has financed also dictators in Venezuela and also in Cuba.
a Cuba. Le abren la puerta incluso a los espías rusos.
Even they have opened the doors to Russian spies.
El gobierno de Morena, el gobierno de Claudia la autoritaria,
The government of Morena and the government of Claudia, the authoritarian,
aborrece el Tratado de Libre Comercio
they don't like the international trade
porque lo ven como un símbolo neoliberal.
because they see it as a neoliberal sign.
Y el gobierno de Claudia la autoritaria preferiría una alianza con Rusia
In the government of Claudia, the authoritarian, she will prefer an allegiance with Russia than an allegiance with the United States.
que con los Estados Unidos. No espere, señor Trump y
Don't expect, Mr. Trump,
señor Marco Rubio, no
and you know, don't expect Mr. Trump and Mr. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He's referencing to both of them.
esperen de Morena
Don't expect from the political party of Morena
una acción contra los cárteles
a quick action to the cartels
que trafican con droga y
that are trafficking drugs and migrants,
con migrantes, porque son los socios de Morena.
because those are the ones that are in charge, are the associates of Morena, the political party of the current president. Oh, no, so the associates of her.
Son los socios del partido que llevó a la presidente al poder.
And those are the associates that they took the president to power. This is why the speculation, and it is not a speculation, it is almost factual, that the campaign, Mayo Zambada, was the one that politically funded AMLO and got him to the presidency. Also politically funded Claudia Sheinbaum and got her to the presidency. That's specifically what they're saying.
No esperen que procedan contra ellos. No
Don't expect, Mr. Trump and Mr. Marco Rubio, that they're going to go after the cartels.
esperen que Claudia la autoritaria y Morena promuevan y respeten el libre comercio.
You know, don't expect that the president of Mexico, they are going to respect the freedom of commerce,
Ni la democracia,
not only democracy,
porque esto que está pasando en México
because what is happening in Mexico
es que en este momento México está capturado por una pandilla que está en el poder,
because Mexico is right now hijacked and kidnapped by a gang that is in power,
que son unos
Senadora, nuevamente,
that, you know, that all of them, they are narcos. And she gets interrupted by the House Speaker of the Senate, or I don't even know how to call it in Spanish.
respetuosamente la culminamos a tenerse al tema, por favor, de la
You know, respectfully, I'm telling you to stay to the topic. Please state and topic, Miss Senator.
intervención.
señor Trump y señor Marco Rubio.
Mr. Trump and Mr. Marco Rubio,
No espere que el gobierno de Morena apoye
don't expect that the government of Morena support the freedom and democracy.
al mundo libre y a la democracia. México en este momento está en poder de una camarilla, de un grupito de
You know, Mexico right now, it is being run by a small group of narco leftists
narcoizquierdistas que lo que menos harán es proceder contra los criminales.
That the least that the thing that they're going to do is to proceed with these criminals.
Insisto, porque son sus socios.
I insist, because it's not the cartels specifically, are those ones at fault, of the dirty politicians and their associates.
La respuesta correcta de Claudia, la autoritaria, al presidente Trump
The correct response of the authoritarian Claudia to President Trump,
habría sido llamarle por teléfono
it should have been call him through the phone
con seguridad
with security, of course.
y decirle, sí, por supuesto, vamos a proceder contra los cárteles.
Of course, you know, man, this is what I'm talking about. Lili Tella says the correct way to address this problem, it would have been call President Trump through the phone and said, of course, we are going to combat the cartels. Yes. And then she adds this.
Que mueven la droga.
The ones that they traffic the drugs.
Vamos a proceder contra los cárteles que trafican seres humanos hacia.
Also, we're going to proceed to attack combat and tackle the ones that they're trafficking humans to the United States.
Los Estados Unidos. Pero no lo hace ni se.
But no, she's not doing it, and she's not even compromising with it.
Compromete a ello, insisto, porque tienen un pacto los cárteles que trafican con
because the traffickers of humans, they have a special pact with
personas y que trafican con drogas.
And the ones that they're trafficking drugs also have a pact with
Con el partido Morena que hoy está.
With the political party that is governing currently right now, that is the leftist political party of Morena. She has been speaking boldly in the past couple of days. There's another viral video that says she is calling every single politician traitors to our country. She was interrupted in the House of Congress from speaking, or in the Senate from speaking, because she was calling the House Speaker, she was calling everybody out. You're corrupt. You are a sellout. You are with the cartels. My God, the balls on this lady. I admire this lady so much. And this is what is lighting the fire in our country to expect that there can be hope still. Let's just see what happens on the next incoming days now that the tariffs are going to be implemented in our country of Mexico. And let's see where it goes. I wanted to just address this last topic, which is concerning, and I will touch it again, because we have been touching these topics now more consistently, right? We have been touching these topics more consistently, and it's dangerous to do it. And let me just go right here and put this right here. Mexico is number 3 for assassination towards journalists in the world. And another journalist was assassinated in our country of Mexico a couple of days ago. These are the risks that we take massively to open up and to start speaking about these topics. It's really difficult when you start speaking about this, because immediately you receive a phone call here and there, and you don't want that phone call to be a phone call that you don't want, or a sudden vehicle that can immediately appear on your road and say, get out of the car and get into this one. Everything just like around 7 or 8 days or 10 days ago, we had a meeting over here, several journalists, and we talked about this, that every single threat and every single threat, social media, everything needs to be documented, consistently documented. And now that there is certain laws in the United States that they can be pushed, and also in Mexico, we need absolute, protection of these threats. I will say it again. In 2019, a progressive mercenary activist who wanted to get me killed, speaking about my past in MS, that I have spoke about that, and I'm not ashamed to say it anymore. In MSNBC, Democracy Now!, Daily Beast, and almost getting me killed over here. I've been in several situations where my life has been between life and death. Of course, we don't want nothing aggravating to happen to us. And we live in a country where we don't have the ability to wear a bulletproof vest like other people have the ability to do so, to broadcast, or to have protection. We don't have that. Our defense is our camera. We need to understand the level of insecurity on speaking about these topics. We're going to continue to do our jobs. Pray about this every day when I'm getting out there. And this is the news. We have to speak about the current organized crime and the cartel activity which is happening in our country. This is the next war that is going to happen. We strongly believe that this is the next thing that is possibly going to kick, and it is inevitable that it's going to happen. The eradication of the organized crime. The right-wing political party in Mexico is pushing so much for this to continue. The right-wing conservative political party is pushing so much to expose the corruption in the Senate, in Congress, and the dirty politicians who have been corruptively involved on giving the organized crime and the cartel the ability to operate massively, forcing people to operate, kidnapping children and women to operate with them, to be their defense mechanisms, going to the ranches and the poor places and kidnapping the women and the men to make them work for the cartel. We need to document all of this. And we need to expose this in another level. It's going to take some gall and some bravery, some courage. We know that. And with the light of God and God's protection, we will continue to do so. And we will try to do our best to expose the real enemies by within in our country of Mexico. And, hopefully, this problem can get eradicated in our country. And we can have peace for once and for all. It will be nice to have that, to actually see the children go out after 6 o'clock at night and not be worried that they're going to get kidnapped or it's too late. Or the average typical woman student not worried about getting kidnapped by an Uber or a cartel. Or the average typical worker not worried about getting assaulted. Or the average typical merchant not worried about getting taxed by the cartel. Or the average typical businessman not worried about getting extortion and kidnapped. Or the average typical citizen that lives in the border not worried about that there's going to be a gunfight, or human remains being left in a box, or a human head being found at a bridge, or somebody hanging from a bridge as a message from the cartel with a banner. We got into a point that we have our minds so normalized and so accustomed to these kind of acts that for us it's normal, and for the world it's like, wow. But for us it's just like, human head, something normal found in a box. It shouldn't be normal, but we have accustomed ourselves to see that shootings consistently between police officers and cartels, a war in Culiacan that hasn't slowed down and hasn't peacefully brought to citizens peace. The displacement and replacement of people in Michoacán and Guerrero. The enormous trafficking from the parts of Guatemala into the South border of Tapachula, and the trafficking of illicit drugs, gasoline, and everything that is going on in the south of the country. Organ harvesting and enormous trafficking of fentanyl. Humans, it has decreased. We know that, but the exploitation of children and women hasn't slowed down. That is actually still one of the most humongous markets in the world. It is a reality what our country is going through. This was the actual reality that, I want to put something. I believe that I have it right here. I don't know if I have it. No, I don't. But I want to put an image on the screen. And, I wanted to put this image because it's a reality. I want to see if I have it over here. If I have it over here. This image. I think that I have it. Hold on. I want to show you something on this. This was the list of countries according to Forbes, the magazine, before I go. On the year 2023, this was one of the most dangerous years under the AMLO administration. And it says Mexico has the leading ranking of cities most dangerous in the world. According to the ranking of 2023, 50 cities more violent in the world, Mexico has 16 of them inside of their levels of violence. Number 1, Colima, Mexico. That right now, Tijuana is number 1. Back in 2023, it was Colima. Number 2, Ciudad Obregón, Mexico. Border town to Arizona. Colima is down south. Number 3, it was Puerto Príncipe, Haiti. Number 4 was Zamora, Mexico, down south. Number 5, Manzanillo, Mexico, to the coast. Number 6, Tijuana, Mexico, to the border. Number 7, Zacatecas, Mexico. Number 8, Guayaquil, Ecuador. Number 9, Mandela Bay, South Africa. And number 10, Ciudad Juárez, Mexico, border with El Paso. This is the reason why when you hear our Mexican president pointing the finger to the problem of the United States of distribution and trafficking of illicit guns into Mexico, we know that that is a problem. But you have a problem in your country, and it's actually showing right here. Why can you not take care of your actual problem now? Why? And Lili Tellez says correctly, it is because of the dirty politicians who are at power. It is because of the dirty politicians who move the spider web. God bless you all. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm Oscar Blue for Real America's Voice News. It is Wednesday, 5 of March. The time it is 6:54 in the evening. Thank you so much for joining in. Buy me a coffee is right there pinned in the chat for people who want to contribute to my independent reporting and travel fund. The app, it is right there pinned on the chat, on the top of the chat. Thank you so much. We are going to be traveling soon. To all the media that I work with, thank you so much for your concerns and your questions on these days which we have been informing and talking about these topics. A lot of you guys have messaged me and say, Oscar, be careful, please be careful. And I say, I know how to be clean and, not get into trouble. But yes, speaking about these topics is really difficult. To all the Hispanic media in the United States and the Spanish media in the United States, thank you so much. The Spanish-speaking media, also the English-speaking media, American media, thank you so much. And the multiple media in Central and South America and send me messages, thank you so much. Thank you. Really appreciate your support. Absolutely, when I go to your country, I will visit you. And the people in Panama, the people, massive media in Panama, in Colombia, also the people in Costa Rica, thank you so much. And the people in Guatemala, absolutely. Guatemala doing a lot of work, and they're going to do a lot of work, and we're going to be over there to expose also the reality of how they're combating the organized crime and how they're doing something about it. Thank you so much to all of you guys. God bless you all. Thank you so much. Stay safe. And like we always say, people, God's plan, it is our mission. God bless.